Welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we need to talk about a psychological barrier that pretty much every single one of us struggles with. Procrastination. You know that feeling, right? Staring at a blank screen or looking at a gym bag that's just gathering dust in the corner. Well, today we are diving deep into the actual science of starting, and we're sourcing this directly from Chapter 13 of James Clear's incredible book, Atomic Habits. If you have ever felt completely paralyzed by a big goal, this shift in perspective might be exactly what you've been looking for.
So why is starting always the hardest part? I mean, really think about it. It's not just laziness. We beat ourselves up, but it's actually a literal biological, psychological barrier. Our brains require this massive spike of what's called activation energy just to shift from doing nothing to doing something difficult. So what do? We sit there, we overthink, we wait for the right mood or some magical burst of motivation that, let's be honest, literally never comes, and the anxiety just builds. But as we're going to see, the problem isn't the task itself. It's entirely about how we're framing that task in our minds.
We get stuck because our brains are constantly comparing two completely different things. On one side, you have the end goal, and because of our perfectionism, our minds just get crushed by the weight of this final outcome. You know, you want to write an entire book, or you want to get a six-pack or ace this massive final exam. That is a heavy, paralyzing burden to carry. But on the exact opposite side, we have the first step, a light, almost effortless little action. The real tragedy of our psychology here is that the massive, intimidating shadow of the end goal completely obscures the absolute simplicity of the first step. We psych ourselves out before we even begin.
Section 1. The power of decisive moments. To break this cycle of overthinking, we have to stop relying on sheer willpower and actually look at how our days unfold.
James Clear points out that habits are like the entrance ramp to a highway. Think about this. Researchers estimate that about 40 to 50% of everything we do on any given day is done purely out of habit. But their true influence is actually way bigger than that. Actions you take in just a few seconds shape the entire trajectory of the minutes or even hours that follow. They're the entrance ramp. It's vastly easier to just continue what you're already doing than to pivot and start doing something different. I mean, have you ever picked up your phone to check one notification and suddenly 45 minutes have just vanished? Yeah, that is the entrance ramp in action.
I want you to think of your day as this series of branching paths. Every single day, there are a handful of tiny moments that deliver a totally outsized impact on your life. These are your decisive moments. Imagine it's 5:15 p.m. You just walked in the door from a long day at work. You have a choice right then and there. Change into your workout clothes or crash onto the couch and grab the TV remote. That one single choice acts as a fork in the road. If you put the workout clothes on, the rest of your productive evening just kind of flows naturally. The momentum carries you. But if you hit the couch, you're locked into the bad day trajectory, and good luck getting up after that.
The absolutely crucial point here is that we are ultimately limited by where our habits lead us. So, the secret to overcoming your procrastination isn't about perfectly managing a whole 24-hour day. No, it is entirely about mastering these tiny, little 2-second decisive moments. Your options for the next 2 hours are completely constrained by the choice you make right at that fork in the road. Master that tiny moment, and the rest of the journey genuinely takes care of itself.
Section 2. The 2-minute rule. This brings us to a paradigm shift that will completely bypass your brain's fear of effort. The rule is incredibly simple. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. See, when we dream about making a big life change, excitement inevitably takes over, right? And we try to do way too much, way too soon. The 2-minute rule completely stops this. It scales down any massive, intimidating ambition into an action that takes under 120 seconds. Remember that psychological activation energy we talked about earlier? This drastically reduces it. You are literally taking away your brain's ability to say, it's too hard, let's just do it tomorrow. If we map out our goals from very easy all the way to very hard, you can really see the visual epiphany here. Let's say your goal is to run a marathon. That's terrifying, and it's very hard. But your gateway habit, it's simply tying your running shoes. That is very easy. If your goal is to earn a PhD or write a novel, the 2-minute rule scales that massive burden all the way down to just opening your laptop or writing one single sentence. What you're looking for is a frictionless gateway habit that naturally leads you down a productive path. You do not have to conquer the entire mountain today. You literally just have to put on your boots.
Section 3. Standardize before you optimize. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What is the actual point of meditating for 1 minute or reading one single page of a book? Well, the key principle here is that a habit must be established before it can be improved.
A lot of people think it's kind of silly to get hyped up about reading a single page. But listen, the point is not to do one thing brilliantly right out of the gate. The point is entirely about mastering the habit of showing up. Because if you can't learn the basic foundational skill of just showing up consistently, you have absolutely zero hope of mastering the finer details later on. You have to standardize the behavior before you can ever optimize it.
And James Clear highlights a deeply profound point here. If you know that your real goal is to work out for an hour, doing it for 2 minutes can feel like you're just trying to trick yourself. So if it feels forced, try this. Literally force yourself to stop after 2 minutes. Clear talks about a guy who used this exact strategy to lose over 100 pounds. He went to the gym every single day, but he had a strict rule. He wasn't allowed to stay for more than 5 minutes. He'd walk in, exercise for 5 minutes, and immediately leave. But after a few weeks of this, he naturally thought, well, I'm always coming here anyway. I might as well stay a little longer.
The secret science here is forcing the stop. Stop reading after 1 page. Stop meditating after 2 minutes. Stop studying a language after 2 minutes. Stop journaling before it starts to feel like a chore. The leadership consultant Greg McCown actually built a massive daily journaling habit by specifically writing less than he felt like writing each day. Even Ernest Hemingway believed in this for writing. He said, the best way is to always stop when you are going good. Stopping before an action feels like a heavy, exhausting hassle is the exact psychological trick to keeping the habit alive and keeping yourself eager to do it again tomorrow.
Section 4. The Art of Habit Shaping. Okay, so once we've established that tiny 2-minute gateway habit, how do we logically build it toward our ultimate goal?
Let's look at the goal of becoming an early riser. Everyone fails at waking up at 6 a.m. because they try to jump straight to phase 5 on day 1. Habit shaping says, no, start with phase 1. Just master being home by 10 p.m. every night. That's it. Do that until it is completely effortless. Then, and only then, advance to phase 2, having your devices turned off by 10. You master the absolute smallest version of the behavior first before you ever worry about the final, difficult phase.
It's the exact same progression for starting to exercise. Phase 1 is literally just changing into your workout clothes. That's your only goal. Phase 2 is stepping out the door. By keeping your focus strictly on mastering those first 2 minutes, momentum naturally kicks in and pulls you forward into deeper focus. The more you ritualize the very beginning of a process, the more likely it becomes that you can slip into that state of deep, effortless focus required to do the hard stuff.
Section 5. Becoming who you want. Let's transition from the mechanics of this into the profound, emotional transformation this strategy actually creates.
1 push-up is infinitely better than not exercising at all. 1 minute of practicing the guitar is better than none. We rarely think about change this way because we are utterly consumed by the end goal. We have this destructive all-or-nothing mindset that tells us if we can't do the whole workout, it's not worth doing. But psychologically speaking, it is fundamentally better to do less than you hoped than to do nothing at all.
Because ultimately, all of this leads us to one beautiful truth. You're taking the smallest action that confirms the type of person you want to be. When you show up at the gym for 5 days in a row, even if you literally only stay for 2 minutes, you are casting undeniable votes for your new identity. You aren't stressing about getting in shape right that second. You are simply focused on becoming the type of person who does not miss workouts. These 2-minute actions, they aren't just cheap productivity hacks. They are physical proof to yourself of who you are becoming.
So, I'll leave you with this final question. What will your 2 minutes be today? Whatever big goal has been paralyzing you lately, whatever massive project has been triggering your procrastination, I challenge you to drop the heavy burden of the ultimate outcome. Stop staring at the end of the highway and just find your entrance ramp right now. What is the 2-minute version of your goal? Go do it and prove to yourself exactly who you are becoming. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.